I imagine a world where America's beauty triumphs over its beastliness. Here's how I would go about creating that world. First, I would run for president of the United States of America. Then, I would enact a series of policies improving our economy, our education, our environment, and our energy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is LaTravion Golden, and I'm here to speak to you about America, the beauty and the beast. America has many benefits, which we will call beauties, but it also has many drawbacks, which we will call beasts. The first beauty we will encounter today is called patriotism. Throughout America's history, patriotism has been like a glue that has held us together through countless tragedies and countless crises. I like to look back to history in order to gain a better understanding of what's to come, because like the old saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. So let's look back to one of the most recent cases of patriotism. The tragic attack on the Twin Towers in New York City, 9/11. That was truly a time of great pain, a time of great sadness, a time of great unity. That was a time back in 2001 where you could not walk down the street and not see 40+ flags flying in the breeze. There was a time back in 2001 where you cannot help but overhear someone speaking about how much they love their country or how much they would do for their country. There was a time back in 2001 where you were not black, you were not white, you were not Hispanic, you were not Asian, you were nothing, but you were an American. And that's the beauty of patriotism. It transcends all barriers, whether they be race, religion, creed, etc. It did not matter. Patriotism got through all of them. You see, patriotism has subsided in recent years. However, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. You see, patriotism is a lot like a fire. When left alone, it slowly dies down. But when fed oxygen, it begins to expand and explode. Now, sadly, the oxygen that feeds patriotism is tragedy. And when that fire gets too big, it burns down anything and everything in its path. That is the beast of patriotism. That is the beast we call chauvinism. Chauvinism is that fire that spills over, and rather than be the beauty of patriotism, it becomes this aggressive and zealous beast. Exaggerated sense of pride, arrogance, and superiority. Chauvinism is a destructive force. We can look to history in order to see this. During World War II, the United States made a power play. Now, this power play was the dropping of 2 atomic bombs over cities, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. This power play not only massacred millions of people, innocent people, but it demolished whole environments, reducing them to nothing but radioactive ash. What caused such an attack? What caused such an act of violence? I'm sure we all remember it was the Japanese attack on our naval base, Pearl Harbor. That's what caused the decimation of 2 cities. So you can see chauvinism is not our friend. So the question stands, how do we maintain the small counterfire of patriotism without it escalating it to the forest fire we call chauvinism? Well, one of the natural accelerants that has usually been bestowed upon patriotism is this sense of superiority. We must demolish this sense of superiority, for it is this sense of superiority that caused the atomic bombing of cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It is this sense of superiority that caused the Cold War. It is this sense of superiority that is causing this war on terror. In order for us to progress, not only as a nation, but as a human species, we must completely demolish this feeling of superiority. Now, this brings me to the next segment of my talk, compromise. That is a true beauty, my friends. Compromise Wait, before I get into it, we must first realize why it is needed. Stubborn America. America has a relentless $15.1 trillion debt, a persistent energy crisis, a tenaciously high 9.1% unemployment rate, and on top of that, a consistently ignorant youth. The unyielding attitude between the Republicans and the Democrats has left America with a mass array of problems. However, you see, the beauty of compromise is the key to America getting past all of its childish ways. The beauty of compromise is the key to America fulfilling its full potential. You see, compromise throughout history is relatively rare. Because when one thinks of compromise, one thinks of demolishing his or her point of view, ideas, belief, principles, etc. However, that's not what compromise is. Compromise is a settlement of differences by mutual concessions, an adjustment of opposing or conflicting claims, principles, ideas, etc. That, by definition, is what compromise is. Compromise is understanding one's point of view and taking it and mixing it into your own in order to make a mutually beneficial solution. In today's society, we treat compromise as if it were some type of disease rather than a cure. And that's what compromise is. Compromise is a cure. It's a cure to our many political and economical troubles. If the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress could come together and make a compromise about our national budget, then we could begin to work together to tackle our national debt, and unemployment will surely lessen. If the Democrats and Republicans in Congress could make a compromise about which energy our nation should partake in, then the energy crisis will no longer be a crisis, it would just be energy. If the Democrats and Republicans in Congress could come together to make a compromise about our educational policy, then just maybe we'd rise above the international ratings of 19th and 24th in the international ranking of education. You see, I'm not naive in the fact that compromise is not always easy. However, what's worth fighting for is a nation where we put aside our petty differences in order to do what's best for our country instead of the fragmented parts of our society. What's worth fighting for is a nation where we are admired around the world for our ability to bring people together, much like we have done today. What's worth fighting for is a nation where we go back to being number one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today I have spoken to you about the beauties of patriotism and compromise and the beasts of chauvinism and stubbornness. However, before I go, I would like to leave you with this dream I've had. Now, you see in this dream, I stand atop the White House, and next to me are leaders from different nations. Now, they don't hold flags or anything, but they have this certain vibe, this aura. It's strong, yet cooperative. I believe they are there as the collective of our human civilization. I walk up and I look down to the ground, and what I see are trees and flowers and the birds and the bees, and I look up and I close my eyes and I take a deep breath. And I tell you, I've never smelled something so pure. I open my eyes and I look back down to the ground, and that lush greenery that was once there was no longer there. It was nothing but war-torn land. I look to my left and I look to my right, and the leaders no longer stand. It's just me standing alone on this pillar. Now, I believe this to be more of a future rather than a dream. Don't let this be our future. I mean, after all, 'twas beauty that killed the beast. Thank you.
Great job. Great, so could you tell us about your artifact?
Of course. An elephant. You see, an elephant encompasses everything that I just spoke of. Elephants band together in order to protect themselves from predators. Elephants even bath each other. That is compromise. They band together. That is patriotism. That is the unity that patriotism symbolizes. However, an elephant can easily get agitated and attack, much like we did after the attack of Pearl Harbor. Also, an elephant also encompasses stubbornness, because our two main political parties are represented by two of the most stubborn animals on the planet, an elephant and a donkey. So that's pretty much why I brought this.
Great.